Hello, this is Daniel Posney with Shifting Perspectives. And this morning I'm going to talk about what I do in Sedona, what my typical day is like. But I tell you that I never have any typical days. And I do remember when I had jobs that were typical days, and I knew what was kind of ahead of me, and the troubleshooting that I needed to do, or the thing that I needed to fix was pretty typical day to day. And it's pretty amazing that I did that for so long. And I'm so comfortable with how it is right now that it's more of a entrepreneurial way of living that although there's things that get scheduled, I don't know how they're going to show up. So let's take for today. So after I'm done with this, I'm going to meet my friend Minya for some didgeridoo teaching to help him with his circular breathing. And then after that, I've got a relationship session for an hour and a half with a couple. And their story is he's coming with his fiance, been together for 4 years. They're focused on anger management, forgiveness, inner child, and they both have past traumas. There's some mistrust, and they're in their 30s and lots of stress. So what I do when I go into that session is that, first of all, I listen a lot. And I let them tell a little bit about their story just to see how they talk about each other and kind of what the energy is behind that. And we kind of do this dance. And I don't let them go too far into the details of their stories and about how she said this and he said that, just enough so they can kind of bring up the emotions of how they really feel. And then what I'll usually do is that probably something of what they're feeling in their relationship, I probably felt, or I've worked through. If he feels like he's being controlled, or feeling like he's sensitive and she doesn't know it, or any of those kind of things that I may have lived through, then I give some direct experience about that. And then I might go into what psychology says about this particular dynamic, or some kind of metaphysical kind of thing that goes beyond psychology, where I would call it, what's the name? I can't remember psycho-shamanic. Psycho-shamanic. So it's a little bit of blend of shamanism and a little bit of blend of psychology. And then spirituality, and talking about what the possibilities might be, and see if they can feel into maybe something was inherited to them, maybe something came from a past life. And all those things aren't things that I can really prove on that theory. You'd be surprised at how many people say, oh my gosh, I completely feel that. I completely feel how this comes from some other place, but it's mine to work on right now. So that's one session. And then I'll have a little bit of break. And then I've got a breath work with this person. And let's see, they're going through a spiritual awakening and transition over the last 2 years. Their mom passed away. They met a stranger on the beach and had a surreal experience, and they felt a real connection with that person. And now they see the world differently. They went to a shaman a few months later, and they want to learn more about their self and where they're going and get in tune with themselves. So those kind of sessions kind of come in every once in a while, where someone gets a connection and they get this kind of opening. And it's kind of reminds me of this movie with Shirley MacLaine. I think it's called something about On the Edge, where she meets this guy and he turns out to be this kind of a spiritual teacher in a very humble way. They go to Peru, and her life just kind of opens up, and this is based on her true story. So those kind of stories kind of come in every once in a while, and it's just when you're in that place of kind of spiritual awakening, it's kind of a vulnerable, can be frustrating place where you don't know what you're supposed to do. You got used to your life beforehand, and now there's this big change, and you need some guidance with that. So I find myself doing that also, is guiding people through what I went through myself, of this where nothing makes sense anymore, and you don't know who you are anymore. And so you need some grounded guidance, and to kind of work through those potentials that you might be pursuing. So that's going to be a great session, and I'm going to do that through breath work. So breath work is a session where you're going to be breathing intensely and fast to take yourself into an altered state of consciousness. And it's a place where we can go into where there's this feeling of divine grace, unconditional love, pure presence, and so much more. So that's going to be it, and that's going to be my day. So a day for me with 2 sessions at an hour and a half a piece, that's a pretty good day. 1 session is awesome. And if I get into 3 sessions a day, that's about my max these days. I find that once I start going into 4 sessions, I've done 5 sessions in one day, and I love the work. I love, one part I may be out on the land, taking somebody on a very conscious journey out on the land and enjoying the creek and the rocks and the sun, and maybe bring a didgeridoo and a flute and a drum, and just having this amazing experience out there, which just really opens people up to what's really true, what's really important, being here right now. So I'll have one of those, and I'll get done with that. Maybe I'll come back and do a relationship counseling with a couple for an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then maybe I'll do a breath work. So it's a blend of all these different outside, inside sessions, but those 3 is about the max, unless I'm with one person. So what I'm talking about there is sessions that I work for a different retreat company. And so I work with 3 or 4 different retreat companies in town, and I'll get a text or get a phone call, can you do this session? And I'll look on my calendar, and if it's not maxing me out and I'm excited about that session, then I'll do that one. And but the other part of this is that I also have my private sessions, my personal people that come directly to me, and those are the ones that are really awesome, because although the retreat sessions are more consistent, these are the ones I can do more with. I can spend more time with them if I want to. We can go off into different tangents if we need to. And then I can have them come back the next day or in a week or a month and work directly with me. We can go and spend the day together and go on the land and go to the sweat lodge, go to the top of the rock and jump in the creek. And there's just so many possibilities. So that's a part of my day too. So I may have one day that's just completely committed to one person, and we'll go out to the cave, or we'll do something, just kind of takes the whole day. And then some weeks I'll have a retreat that, like in October, I've got a men's retreat that's going from October 14th to the 17th. And we're going to start off our mornings with breath work, meditation, qigong, yoga, and then we're going to go into learning, and I'm going to have different speakers come in. We're going to go out on the land. We're going to jump in the creek. We're going to have food. All those things are just going to be 4 days of just immersing ourselves in healing, integrating, learning, and becoming, I guess you would say. So those are kind of interspersed into my week, into my month, but every day is kind of different. But I would say that although every day is different, every day is just magical. And I know that sounds like it's kind of unbelievable, but it's really true that I don't have the worries that I had before in my life. They're just not there. I do have issues in my life. I do have things to be concerned about, really serious things in my life, but they don't take me down like they used to. So most of my day is being in session with someone and going deep with them and being a catalyst for their emotional, physical, sexual, and spiritual healing. And then I'll have a break in the day for maybe even a few hours till my next session. So I get to go for a hike, or go into the creek, or go to the pool. So it's a much more like a playful life that I have now. Let's see, what else happens? Well, I'm in my studio right now. And so we've got a bunch of bowls and gongs and didgeridoos. And sometimes we'll have a workshop, or sometimes we'll have a sound healing sound bath where people will come in. what did I do the other day? The other day I had a session with a woman from Australia. She was a gay woman that was in a relationship for a long time. She was working through guilt and shame, and that, like a lot of us do, we have little things that happen in our childhood that maybe we think that we should have done something differently, or maybe someone kind of pushed shame onto us. We're in a classroom and we should have known the answer. It's just the element of shame. And what happens with that is that we identify with that feeling, and then that gets repeated in our life over and over again. So she was at a point in her relationship that she had these feelings come up again, and she wanted to heal them from the source, from the cause. So we worked on that, had an amazing connection with that. I had another woman come in that was from Washington, and I did her opening. So the opening is all about hearing the story a little bit and going into their intentions, and then affirmations that were connected with that. Like their intention might be to let go of anger, and then the affirmation might sound something like, I'm much more peaceful than I ever was, or something like that. So we went through that process and just got her into the feeling of, okay, you're in this place of safety and security, and this is all going to work out better than you think, and this is how your days are going to go. So I went through her itinerary, and it was just a real connection with her. And then we did a release ceremony with the didgeridoo played to her body. And I just love being a part of those, because it's engaging with the person for the first time, and they get here and they go, I wonder if this is worth it. This was a lot of money, or this is a lot of time. And now they're sure that this was the right thing, and this is going to be life-changing. Not just like a feeling you get when you're on a cruise that, oh, this is a good break. It's not just a break, it's a complete transformation, which changes your life. Let's see, what I had the other day. I had a couple come in, and they've been married for a long time, kind of lost that connection, lost that love with each other, lost the intimacy. And when that happens, you start pulling yourself away from each other, and then little resentments just build and build and build, and you get further away from each other. So a lot of those relationship sessions are bringing them back through realizations that they didn't know about, dynamics in their relationship that actually playing with each other, and that they're healing long-standing hurts and traumas that they brought into the relationship. And we go into those, and it's this big, wow, I never knew this. It kind of brings in new fire, new light into their relationship. And then after that, I had a session with him specifically to go into healing inner wounds. So there's a couple sessions that I do that are sort of related: healing inner wounds, inner child work, healing from emotional trauma, emotional clearing. They're all kind of named differently, but they have sort of common elements to them. Basically going into how they felt in their life and what emotions have come up. If you were to say, this shit keeps on happening to me, and fill in the blank, we go into where that might have come from. And so instead of working on surfacey to help them deal with this, we actually go into very quickly into the root cause of it. And there's where the solution is, of the healing and integration in that place. So that's an hour and a half for those sessions. They're usually pretty quick, but we don't mess around too much. And it really helps that, now that I look at my life, that I've had a lot of those experiences, and it helps me to go right into, this is what I found. So asking questions to pull out how they felt about that, but around those answers are this energy, and you start to feel the same energy. You start to feel what you felt, and then you can go right into compassion and empathy, and really feeling and supporting them and hearing them, because the big part of it is really hearing someone and listening to them. So I guess you would say that a lot of my day is listening to people, and then with a small percentage of, okay, going into some kind of a solution for it. And it's usually very life-changing. Some of the more tougher sessions that I've had, some of the more extreme ones, I'm so glad that I get myself out of the way, because I remember one particular session where a woman came in. Her now deceased husband, who was a surgeon or something, was selling off his daughters as sex slaves. And I'm in the room with the mother, and it was like a healing inner wound session or something. And we got to a good place. And man, it was tough though, because there's a part of me that goes and it goes, what am I supposed to say? But then I remind myself, it's not about you. It's not about you. You're not the one that's supposed to know exactly what to say here. It's about spirit. It's about consciousness that just comes out in the right time, at the right place. And it did. Some of the other ones are just, severe abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse, narcissism, divorce, thoughts of suicide, all those things. That's what I'm immersed in. And I love it. I love being a part of it. And, looking back at my life, I think about the stuff that I've experienced, and it's really kind of prepared me for this. And I don't know how I would do it without that. If I just had the book knowledge, the knowledge of psychology or metaphysics and some kind of, metaphysical view on things, that would wear out after a while. That would, I could see myself just hitting the wall and going like imposter syndrome. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But combining all this together, spirituality, metaphysics, psychology, quantum physics, my own experience, all this together, just, it's kind of like, wow, I get to use all of my suffering. I get to use all of my direct experience in my life to help this person. And sometimes I don't know if I'm helping myself more than them, but it's just this back and forth thing that's really beautiful. What else? I think that's about it. Just I said about being outdoors, being in phone calls or Zoom calls or in person. All of it's effective. Of course, it's great when you're with someone. So I try and do more of that. In my off time to build my business and bring in more direct clients, I'm always kind of narrowing down what I'm excited about and what kind of client I want to bring closer to me, what kind I want to attract. And usually they're people that I have a similar experience, life experience with, like maybe the person was really insecure like I was. Maybe there's a lot of guilt and obligation in their life. Maybe they felt insignificant, unappreciated, and unacknowledged like I had in the past, and how I've come out of that into who I am now. And then also, of course, people that are, it's kind of like the most exciting are the ones that they've got some stuff to work on, and they're not in total attachment to the story. I know that sounds weird, but they're not completely grabbed onto the story that they won't let it go. They know their story, and they just don't know what they don't know, kind of thing. And they're open, they're receptive, and they're discerning. Like they don't believe everything I say, but they're open to listening and that kind of thing. And they're open to answering the questions inside themselves, and going beyond where they've come from. So a lot of my day is working with people like that. I don't attract too many people that are not ready for change, not ready for life transformation and healing. I've kind of made the decision a long time ago that wasn't really excited about those people that wanted to hang on to the story too long, and they just don't come to me. So that's kind of what my day is like. I think that's about it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Hope you have the most beautiful day. I love you. Thank you. Bless you.